Good Erev Shabbos, a licht again, a freiliche Chanukah. It should be a day of Nisim v'niflos. We should hear Besoros Tovos, Yeshua's v'nochamos from Eretz Yisrael and around the world. As always, we want to thank our dear friend Mendy and Tzipora Fishman for sponsoring Turn Friday into Erev Shabbos in memory of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs and in honor of Chaya Rivka Bas Tzipora Fredo. Today is also sponsored by Anna Jack Mummelson in commemoration of her father's 26th Yurtzeit, Paul Ehrlich, Pinchas ben Yitzchak Isaac. Ha'ikar lo lefachid klal. We have to not be afraid no matter what is happening all around us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a plan. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of us. I want to share with you a beautiful thought from Halekach v'Halibov on Chanukah. It's not available in print, but of Avram Shor Shlita. And it connects Shabbos and Chanukah together as we are entering this beautiful Shabbos Chanukah. The light will burn the brightest. We're lighting both the candles of Shabbos, the candles of the menorah. The combination should illuminate the world from the darkness that is surrounding not only the borders and boundaries of Israel from the enemies, the darkness that is in America. We are finding we need to illuminate, we need to dispel it, we need to light the brightest lights. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Shabbos, mitzvah to say in Torah, Lekadosh Yom Shabbos b'dvarim, that there is a mitzvah to be mekadesh Shabbos with words. Zocher Yom Shabbos lekadsho, Zachrei Uzchira Shavach v'kiddush, Shabbos v'kiddush. A person has to establish, inaugurate, create the bookends of Shabbos. L'zachrei b'knisaso v'tziyaso. B'knisaso with Kiddush, Hayom v'tziyaso b'Havdalah. When Shabbos begins, we distinguish it from what came before through Kiddush. When Shabbos ends, we distinguish it with what comes afterwards with Havdalah. Kiddush at the beginning and Havdalah at the end. Havdalah is Kiddush of Shabbos. And the question is, how does Havdalah create Kiddush of Shabbos? I understand Friday night you say Kiddush and you say, today, just an hour ago, a minute ago, it was a weekday, it was Vach, it was mundane. Now we were Mekadesh, the sun is set, and the Shabbos has come upon us, and we are Mekadesh, we sanctify the Shabbos. But tomorrow night when Shabbos ends, when we say Havdalah, how are we sanctifying Shabbos? By saying Havdalah. And the Heilig of Tzadok HaKohen, Zchus Yirgen Aleinu, says that the first time something appears in the Torah, that is its Iker. And from there we can learn about everywhere else in the Torah. So where do you see Havdalah for the first time? What is Havdalah? How does Havdalah create Kiddush? How does Havdalah create holiness or sanctity for what comes before? And the first time we see it is in the Torah, Vayar Elokim Asor Ki Tov, Vayavdel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw the light was good, Vayavdel, and he distinguished. And Rashi there says, Av bezeh an tzrichim l'divrei agada, re'o she'enu kedai l'shtamish bo rishayim, v'yivdilu tzadikim la'asad lavo. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that the light was good, but he didn't want to give evil and wicked people access to this light, to these sparks, to this power, to this energy. So what did he do? He distinguished it for the tzaddikim la'asad lavo. He hid away this great light, the brightest light. He reserved this light for the righteous to make sure that those who are less than righteous would not have access to it. And the Chidush Arim explains based on this, Havdalah, the whole idea, the establishment of Havdalah is that wicked people not benefit from that light. Because if wicked people could connect their evil, their nefarious, their pernicious plans to that light, they would compromise and they would blemish that light. And if we want the light to only illuminate good, if we want that light to spark and be the energy, the fuel for good, it has to be distinguished and held back. It has to be reserved from the wicked having access to it. So based on this Rav Tzadok and based on this beautiful insight of the Chidush Arim, says Rav Avram Shor Shlita, what is Havdalah Motzei Shabbos? Just like the original Havdalah, like Rav Tzadok said, the first time you see something in the Torah tells us what it means, what it is. Just like the original Havdalah was, Hashem created light, he saw it was good, and then he set it aside and he protected it, he reserved it to make sure the wrong people wouldn't get it. Similarly, Yishar ha'or shel Shabbos b'shleimusa v'lo yifkam ha'idei ha'sheshes shemei ha'maseh. Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos says Shabbos was special. Shabbos was incredible. Shabbos was a bright light. Shabbos we learned, and Shabbos we sang, and Shabbos we laughed, and Shabbos we played, and Shabbos we rested, and Shabbos we connected. Shabbos was filled with incredible light. None of the darkness of technology and to-do, none of the darkness of temptation. Shabbos was a great light. So what do we do on Motzei Shabbos? If the light of Shabbos continues to shine, if the light of Shabbos overlaps into the weekday, the mundane, the profane, it could compromise Shabbos. It could corrupt the light of Shabbos. So we say Havdalah, so that we create this distinction, this barrier. There's the light of Shabbos and it's beautiful. And of course it should inform and inspire the week that will follow after, but it shouldn't always corrupt or compromise that light. And that's Aidei Havdalah Mekachines HaShabbos. When a person is willing to say, this was holy, this was sacred, this was special, this was incredible, and I don't want to go back to what was, and I don't want to get confused with what should be, and I don't want for one thing to spill into the other. I'm Mavdil. I'm creating Havdalah. There's a distinction and there's a difference. Then you fulfill Zachor Es Yom HaShabbos Lekacho. Then, in fact, you are elevating and sanctifying the most. That's why in Havdalah, says Rav Mishor, tomorrow night we say Bein Or L'Choshech, Bein Yisrael La'amim, Bein Yom HaShvi L'Sheish Yamasa. The Sfas Emes says these three distinctions between light and dark, the Jewish people and non-Jews, the 7th day and the 6 days of the week, or V'choshech are Havdalah Ba'olam, light and dark are Havdalah, a distinction in the world, the natural world. The or of the Beis HaMikdash and the choshech of Shar HaOlam, the light of the Beis HaMikdash, the light comes out of our Mikdash Mat, our shul, versus the darkness of the world around us. Yotzei or mi Beis HaMikdash chol HaOlam. And then you have in Nefesh, the Havdalah ben Yisrael HaAmim. So that's the Olam. You see this distinction in Olam, in a world, in the physical, in the spiritual, in the person, ben Nefesh, between the Jew and the non-Jew, and Ubashana. The three levels or planes that we live in are space, time, and soul. So in space, the difference between a Beis HaMikdash or a shul, a Mikdash Ma'at, and everywhere else. In the soul, the difference between a Jew and a non-Jew. And in the year, the difference between the 6 days of the week and the day of Shabbos. The core of Havdalah, ben Kodesh L'chol. Person has to know there's a difference, there's a divide, there's a line, there are boundaries, there are borders that we work on. That's why we say Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos Hamida. Where do we say Havdalah? In Atachonin La'adam Da'as. Because if Ein Das, Havdalah Minayin. If you don't, Havdalah is Das is the ability to distinguish, to know the difference between different things. So says Rav Mishra, what does that have to do with Chanukah and the beautiful Holy Shabbos Chanukah that we're going into? What is the connection? In the days of Shimon HaTzadik already, the western light went out. We were assimilating. We forgot the source of our sanctity. We didn't create boundaries. We were assimilating our values. We were assimilating our priorities. We were assimilating our ideas. We were assimilating our ideals. We were assimilating, pursuing the same things, prioritizing the same way, trying to be woke to the same ideas. And therefore we lost that Havdalah. We lost that Havdalah. And what does a Jew have to do? We have to light a candle in order to create Havdalah. We have to bring light in order to dispel. We have to bring light in order to dispel that darkness, So tonight we light the candles of Shabbos, and we go into Shabbos knowing we'll make Havdalah tomorrow night to preserve the beauty, the burning flame of Shabbos. And we light the lights of Chanukah to dispel the darkness of the Yevonim, the darkness of assimilation, the darkness of those who lahashkicham Torasecha, who are trying to extinguish this Jewish ideal, Jewish journey, Jewish values, Jewish future. We light the light of Chanukah, the light of Shabbos. The two go together, and with it, we illuminate the world and we dispel the darkness. It should be a beautiful Shabbos, a lichtige Chanukah, a freilich and Chanukah. It should be a holy Shabbos that brings the peace, the success, the triumph, the victory. It should be a Shabbos in which all of Am Yisrael can rest, knowing we're safe and secure. Our hostages are home, our boys are home. It should be a Shabbos in which Kol ha'olam kulo, there's nothing, lo lefachid klal. We will see and we feel Hashem everywhere, so we have nothing to fear at all. V'ha'ika, v'ha'ika.